Hey there, I'm Sara Zarrella, a portrait and wedding photographer and your host for Wedding Secrets Unveiled. This is a podcast where we cut through the complexity of wedding planning, leaving you with everything you need to know directly from the industry experts. If you want to simplify your wedding planning while having fun, of course, you came to the right place. Join me while I guide you through your planning, starting from your engagement to your big day when you say, I do. After photographing for over 20 years, I am sharing with you tips and tricks to cut through the excess noise. Because I believe from the moment you said yes, your planning experience should be a magical time in your life. Here you'll find episodes that are fun, stress-free, and straight to the point with a fresh, honest take on the reality of what you really need to know about planning your perfect day. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. I'm your host, Sara Zarrella, and today I will be speaking with Dr. Jessie Hehmeyer. She is the owner of Well Empowered. We are going to be talking about this new era that you're in, which is your wedding era, right? And relate it to your body and your mind with nutrition and weight loss and how to set yourself up for finding nutritional happiness. So if you are getting married, or you know someone who's getting married and you're getting ready to be part of this big celebration in this new era of your life, this is the podcast for you. So Dr. H will be talking about different strategies about how to improve your health, and she's going to be giving us tips of how to be calm and not anxious and how to tackle your weight loss before the big celebration. Well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. So for our listeners, can you tell them who you are, who you serve, and what you do in your business?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me here, Sara. My name is Dr. Jessie Hehmeyer, and I practice data-driven functional medicine, and I serve people who are dealing with health challenges and conundrums and use a data-driven approach to identify the root cause of their challenges and address those challenges naturally.
So explain to me a little bit about what you mean by how you take this approach to help people with their challenges.
Yeah, so let's start with the people, the type of challenges people come to see me for. So a large portion of the people who I work with are struggling with weight in some way, shape, or form. Now, that's not the only thing people seek my guidance on, but it's a big portion. And these are people who have, I like to call it, ridden the weight loss roller coaster for years or even decades. And they have the sense that there must be another solution, right? Another solution than the all or nothing approach that they've inherited and been marinating in. And when they come to seek my care, what we're doing is a few things. First of all, we're diving in and understanding on a physiological level what the barriers are to their health. So now this is true whether we're dealing with weight or digestive distress or skin or hormones, whatever the case may be, we are going to get labs to understand what's going on with the body at a physiological level. And we're going to address things, remove barriers, and kind of amplify opportunities to support healing. And we're going to do that through nutrition, through supplementation, through lifestyle. But equally importantly, we're going to do this in a manner that leaves the people who I serve feeling empowered, right? My deep devotion is leaving people with the experience of knowing what to do, how to do it, and having insights about themselves such that they can produce the outcomes they came to get and they can sustain them. And this really comes from shifting the viewpoint from, the all or nothing approach is really what I like to call self-aggression. It's born of self-aggression when people are either engaging in overindulgence or deprivation. Those are two different sides of the same coin. And so they're stepping into, through our partnership, we're stepping into a whole new way of relating to the body to the self to food to all these different aspects from a place of self-love. So it really radically shifts the journey itself.
You mentioned that you do it through data. Say the word again, data.
Yeah, data driven.
Data driven. Okay.
Yeah, when I say data driven, I mean, when I start working with people, I say I arrive with my detectives, right? I'm really trying to understand, again, whether it's weight or digestion or skin challenges or hormones. I'm listening in our first conversation. So we're going to order those lab tests. We're going to get that data, right? Labs don't lie. We're going to understand what is going on in the body that has created the situation where, whether it's digestive distress or hormones or skin or weight, what's going on that is a barrier to healing and amplifying, the situation at hand, whether it's slowing down the metabolism or bloating or leading to acne or psoriasis, all these different things. The labs help us really understand where the barriers and opportunities lie. So we take that data and we put it to use.
I love it because a lot of our listeners right now, they're at a very important milestone and point in their life where they are getting married, or maybe their child's getting married or their siblings getting married or their friends getting married, but we got a celebration on the horizons. So this is something that you always hear people say, I want to be wedding ready, right? So it's a very interesting approach that you're taking, Dr. H, because you're actually taking the data. So before we kind of dive in deep in all that you do and what we can do to help our listeners, I do have one question for you. Can you just kind of tell me a little bit about, and this might be a tough question, but in general, when you are working with your clients and you look at the labs and the data, what is the main thing that you're finding? I know everybody's different, but is there the majority of people's labs are coming back, and what are they saying to you?
They really are all different. So I know I wish I could just give you one answer, right? But the reason for digestive distress or acne or weight challenges, same symptom can have many different root causes. And when I get a notification that I have lab results available, I'm like a kid before Christmas. Like, I can't wait to open it up because the gems we discover in labs, we cannot get in any other way. Sometimes someone's fatigue is because they're simply put iron deficient. Well, pretty quick fix, right? But sometimes it's because inflammation is super high and it's interfering with their body's ability to produce energy at the mitochondrial level, right? And sometimes it's because their B12 is just, kind of lab normal, but it's not optimal for their body. And for someone else, it's because their cortisol is super high. And even though they don't feel stressed, their body is just being taxed and drained by this chronically elevated cortisol. So I know I've just, given a lot out there, but it's really just to say the same symptom can have many different root causes.
And just so our listeners know, can you work with anyone no matter where their geographic location is, or do you specialize in a certain area?
I do work with people throughout the country. Most of the people who I work with are from my home state, Illinois, but I do work with people throughout the country.
Perfect. All right. So now let's get into it in regards to wedding day ready. So talk to me about this. We have a lot of our listeners, there's celebration coming up. Where are we going to take them on their journey of feeling empowered on their wedding day?
Well, first of all, for your listeners, whether, it's you, the bride, or you, the mother of the bride, or you, the bridesmaid, whatever your role in this wedding is, right? I think we can all say when we feel our best and when we look our best, we can be our best, right? We can be fully present. We can fully experience the joy, the love, the wonder of the moment. And we can step into it with a sense of peace and ease and openness. And to me, that's what this work is all about. My mission at Well Empowered with a capital M is people thriving and inspiring others to do the same. And so, on the wedding day, it's, let's have you shining from the inside out so that all that's there for you is soaking up, experiencing, and being part of the beauty and the magic of the moment.
So pretty much you're creating a new era and how they relate to their body and food with their weight. So tell me a little bit more about this.
Yeah. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, right, that we have inherited a perspective, an all or nothing perspective, right? And so when I work with people, we put that all or nothing era in the past, right? We're no longer going to be dancing between overindulgence and deprivation. To me, both of these, overindulgence and deprivation, are an expression of self-aggression. And it's really the solution most people are familiar with in this area of their life, in particular around weight and how people are caring for their bodies. So, stepping into a new era, authoring a new era, means that we are authoring a new era born of self love. And when I work with people, I guide people in discovering what I call their vision of vitality for their health in their life, their vision of their vitality for their health in their life. And you might also call this your intention. What's your intention for your health in your life? And what I have found over the course of decades of working with people is that, oftentimes people think, well, I just want to lose weight, right? And it's not that that's not true. Yes, it's true. Maybe people want to lose weight, but it's not the only thing that's true, right? And so we want to dig a level deeper and look at envisioning that future you walking down the aisle, or being in the front watching your daughter get married, whatever the case may be, and really get connected to what it would be like to feel your best and look your best. What becomes available by just having this area of your life handled. And to me, it's kind of, yes, people want to be wedding ready, people want to feel great, but also my real enthusiasm for working with people in this new era is, let's have this be happily ever after and healthfully ever after. In other words, let's get you tooled up with the information you need to know how to care for your unique body, and do so in a manner that really is an expression of love, right? It's neither overindulgence nor self-aggression. And so the new era is about, so much more than, just like how you look on your wedding day. It's really relating to yourself in a whole new manner and carrying that with you into your marriage and, for many of you, building a family, whatever comes after that.
So how would you start with your clientele to start this journey with them?
Yeah. So when I work with people, as I mentioned, we go through an exercise that I call authoring your vision of vitality. So I'll invite your listeners to begin this exercise right now. We won't complete the whole thing, but we will do a very meaningful portion of it. So for those of you listening, grab a pen and paper. And I do actually prefer pen and paper over fingers to keyboard, because there are real neurological connections that happen when we write. But if that's not a possibility, I'll settle for a keyboard. And what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be doing a little bit of time traveling. So even if you are the bride getting married and you're getting married in 10 months, I'm actually going to invite you to time travel a little farther. I'm going to invite you to time travel to the 5-year future. So, standing in this 5-year future, get in your mind, how old are you in 5 years? Okay, I'm 52. And in that 5-year future, you're going to tell the story of what it is to be you with your health and vitality as you intend, with you feeling your best, being without any symptoms that you deal with, whether it's around energy or digestion or skin, looking your best. And tell the story of what that is. You want to tell the story in first person present tense. So you might say, my body is strong and resilient, and I move about my days with confidence, ease, and joy. I don't know what you'll say, but you want to tell the story of you 5 years from now as if it's happening right now. And, as you envision you thriving. So that's the first step in authoring your vision of vitality.
What's the second step?
Well, the second step is doing a different kind of future. So a 5-year future that would be a downward spiral, because it's useful to get connected to the other side, right? We all make change born out of the carrot dangling, that 5-year future we intend, and the stick on the back, the future that we're like, absolutely not. No, 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 no. Right? So that second step is looking at the 5-year future and doing it just a little bit differently, because your brain is always listening. So this one you want to write as the would-be future, right? I would be fill in the blank, right? So downward spiral, 5-year future, how would that be?
Perfect. Well, you talked a little bit about the mastering your middle ground. What do you mean by that when you are referring to that?
Yeah, mastering your middle ground is really finding that sweet spot where you're not too tight and not too loose, right? When you're neither engaging in overindulgence nor deprivation, you're actually living your life, and you're relating to the truth that how you care and fuel your body on a typical Wednesday is, and appropriately is, different than how you fuel your body maybe on your wedding day, or on your anniversary, or on your birthday, right? And so acknowledging that, but also still honoring your health is sacred in that journey. So in other words, because it's your birthday, it's not drink as much as you can sort of a situation, right? The overindulgence. But it's also, if you enjoy drinking alcohol, it's not, okay, I have to be a no to alcohol on my birthday, for example, right? It's finding that sweet spot that really feels self-honoring for you and lets you experience being part of this wonderful life and the social aspect that is, a part of it and the way we celebrate together.
Perfect. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, I want to get into a little bit now about nutrition and the side effects, and how someone can feel anxious or calm. Also, I would love for you to give our brides some tips in making sure that they can feel calm on their wedding day. And then maybe we can even get into a little bit about losing weight and toning before their wedding day.
You got it.
I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you like what you're hearing, I encourage you to check out our website at sarazarrella.com. And don't forget, you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate if you left a fabulous review on Apple Podcast. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support. And now, let's get back to the episode. Well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. So before the break, I was talking with Dr. H a little bit about what she does. And she explained a little bit about how she takes us through the journey of making sure that we can find and master our middle ground, along with getting us ready both mentally and physically for our wedding. But I really want to dive into that a little bit more. So talk to me a little bit now about nutrition and how it affects our overall mood.
Oh gosh, there's so much we could say about this, but on a very foundational level, I'm gonna speak to the most powerful aspect of nutrition that your listeners can master in service of supporting their mood, right? In service of feeling calm and present on their wedding day and kind of their everyday. And that is supporting their blood sugar, right? So blood sugar stability really offers a whole host of gems in as it relates to our mood. And it makes good sense, right? Because when our blood sugar is bouncing all over the place, too high or too low, it's a tremendous source of physiological stress for our body. And when our body is physiologically stressed, it is going to be just churning and burning through cortisol. Cortisol being our stress hormone, cortisol being, one of the defining hormones of our fight or flight response. And so, making sure that we are, how do we keep our blood sugar levels stable? I'm sure a lot of your listeners are very savvy in this area, but I'll give you a few little tips. One is prioritizing a breakfast that is protein fat centric. And by protein fat centric, I mean at least 20 grams of protein, at least 10 grams of anti-inflammatory fats, whether that's coming from chia seeds or nuts or avocado or eggs. I would put that all in that category. And then being mindful of how much sugar, even if it's from fruit, is in that breakfast also. I like to kind of encourage capping it around 9 or 10 grams of sugar. It's going to depend on a few different factors, but that's a decent guideline to move from. So when you start your day from that foundation of blood sugar stability, which is what you're doing when you prioritize that fat protein centric breakfast, you are going to be creating a solid foundation for the rest of your day, simply put. So, certainly you want to continue that throughout your day, but just starting from that point could really provide some spiral up benefits as you move throughout your day.
What about people feeling a little anxious or giving them that calming feeling? Especially, we're talking a lot about a lifestyle right now, like changing our lifestyle around the new era that we're in, which is, your engagement or wedding era. But, so it's obviously not just the day of we're discussing. We're talking about in generality. But talk to me a little bit about feelings of anxiousness, because, that is, I'm sure, a feeling that everybody's feeling, especially around such a big event and leading up to the planning and the family dynamics. There's a lot of reasons to be feeling anxious, both positive and good feelings of anxious, right? But I'm sure this affects your mood, your nutrition, weight gain. To just talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so much. One thing is if you do know yourself and you tend to run anxious, or that this event is, really spiking your anxiety, which, as you said, Sarah, is superbly understandable. You want to start ahead of the game, right? You want to start a couple of months in advance getting yourself ready. And by getting yourself ready, I mean starting to shift this almost like there can be like almost like an anxiousness habit response, right? And starting to shift that, whether that's through movement or through meditation or talk therapy, or there are certainly some supplements that can be super useful. Something like magnesium, making sure you're getting high quality sleep. And one of the more common things, a couple of common things that can interfere with high quality sleep are things like alcohol or caffeine later in the day, or engagement with our electronics, right? These are things that I'm sure your listeners are well aware of, but really, being aware of it and actually taking action are two different things. They are not one and the same, right? It's, there's a great quote called knowledge is effective action. So you might know that being, scrolling on social media in your bed until you shut out the lights, right, is not great. But are you honoring what you know or not, right? So really finding your way towards that. And in the way of promoting a more of a rest and digest calming response, our sleep is such a powerful point of leverage, because when we sleep, our brain takes out the trash. So our brain has its own, it's called glymphatic system. Lymphatic system is, from the neck down. Lymphatic system is from the neck up. And so one of the many reasons why sleep is such a powerful way to support our mood and whether we feel anxious or peaceful is because of that, physiological cleansing that's happening when we sleep. So someone might feel anxious for a variety of different reasons. We talked about nutrition, but maybe they are anxious because they're simply put not getting sufficient sleep or sufficient high quality sleep, or maybe they're feeling anxious because certain nutrients are depleted. And that's something we would uncover in a lab test. Maybe they're feeling anxious because they're just, they've got a job that's super demanding and they're at their desk all day and they're just haven't yet been able to figure out a way to get enough movement in, right? So there are a lot of different possible causes for anxiousness. And, for any of your listeners who this resonates with, my invitation for you is really just kind of in listening to this, do you see a next action, right? Do you see a next step you could take that could support your levels of calm, move you more towards a rest and digest calm response?
Well, that's what's actually my almost leading up to my next question for you is like, can you give our listeners maybe 3 tips or just a handful of tips, making sure that they're set up to feel calm and present, especially when it has to do with their actual wedding day or whether they're going to be a guest at that wedding day. But just give us a couple tips for the listeners, please.
Yeah. So one is thinking ahead and being prepared, right? Being prepared with the food you need to feel well. Like, please do eat on your wedding day, right? Actually get up and have breakfast. Actually, if you have nerves and you're struggling to, like, you don't have much of an appetite, still make sure you have some kind of snack that's going to keep your blood sugar level stable, whether it's an apple and some almond butter or just something, so that you're not walking down the aisle on an empty stomach, because naturally you are going to be pushing that fight or flight response if that's true, right? Physiologically speaking. So one is thinking ahead and making sure you're set up with the fuel you need to feel well on your wedding day. Another is looking at, okay, are there opportunities to support your sleep? Does your sleep, do you struggle with your sleep some? There's everything from solutions like listening to, the sleep meditation to the bedtime stories apps. There's so many great resources out there. And then there are, supplement solutions, things like a little bit of magnesium before bed can go a long way. I joke that magnesium is a gateway supplement because it does so many amazing things, but magnesium can be a nice, gentle way to support your sleep before bed. And then there's everything from CBD to melatonin to herbs. And I'm not here to promote any specific intervention. I'm just want to make sure your listeners know that if sleep is your Achilles heel, there are solutions, and it's just a matter of figuring out what the right one is for you. And then, looking at your wedding day, do you have people with you who are going to help you feel calm? Do you have someone who you can step aside with and just say, okay, I just need a breather for a second, right? Whatever, be supported in whatever way you see fit. So that can be very useful as well. A lot of it comes from just, ahead of time, preparing not just the logistics, but your physiology, so that when you're there in that day, you're just cruising along and enjoying every moment of it, soaking it all up.
Perfect. And also too, then for our listeners, when should they start to think about their journey if they want to lose weight or tone before the wedding? And how far in advance should they even start thinking about this?
Now, that's going to be a little bit different for different people, right? Some people are like, I've been focusing on my health my whole life. Feel really great about my body. I just want to do a little bit of tweaking. Okay, so then maybe 4 months would be okay. But for most people, it's going to be at least 6 months, because again, we're not just looking for a short-term fix. We are looking at remodeling your relationship with food and your body and the scale, and getting you tooled up with information, with strategies, with insights. When I work with people, I actually give them weekly homework assignments that are custom crafted for them. It's like people are taking a course on their body and their health when we partner. And so it takes time, right? The reason that the diet industry is self-perpetuating is none of it works, right? It's just one more quick fix after the next. And the truth is there is no quick fix to transforming your relationship with your body and taking new actions from that perspective and with new information.
So, Dr. H, you talked a lot about starting with our listeners or your clients from the very beginning, maybe like you just said, 6 months, getting ready for their big celebration. But what about the listeners that feel that they do have a handle on this, but they just want someone to help them tweak it, just bring it to the next level? What type of solutions do you offer to those types of people and to those types of clients of yours?
Again, it's going to be very customized. One of the things that I do when I work with people, so in this example, with everyone who I work with, I actually have them track on a shared Google document their life, right? Symptoms, nutrition, sleep, movement. And that gives me gems that I can't get anywhere else. And it allows me to look at where's the low-hanging fruit, right? Where do we want to do just a couple of little tweaks here to support your body? But it really is a customized approach.
So if it's a customized approach, I know right on your website, you can schedule a free consultation with yourself. What is somebody, I know that everybody's different, so this might be a loaded question, but what is somebody looking at for a possible investment on an average that they really need to set aside if they really want to take their health to the next level with you?
Yeah, again, just like you said, it depends on where they're starting from. So the person who has struggled for years or decades and is really like, this is a new era for them. Not only are they reworking their relationship with their food and their body, but they're looking to produce new outcomes and sustain them. And that's something they've never done before. They're looking at probably something in the $4,000 to $5,000 investment range, right? And that's going to be for working together from anywhere from 6 months to 8 months, something in that range. As I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about the possibility of specialty tests that might be relevant, right? These might be things like food sensitivity assessments or looking at sex hormones in a unique way. The microbiome, those are just examples, right? So I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about, okay, are they going to be investing in supplements? Probably. So that's about right for someone who's starting from the beginning. Now, other people, it could be something more like $2,000 to $3,000, right? And when I work with people, my commitment is to provide the amount of guidance that makes a difference, right? If we're talking about, what you watched on, Netflix for the last 3 months, then my services are no longer useful, right? Like, it's really important to me that people get what they came for. And the amount of time and care that takes is going to vary depending on the person and what they're dealing with.
So for our wrap-up question, what are some key points that couples should be asking health coaches when they're inquiring to make sure that they are working with a professional company or individual to make sure that their wedding day is an absolute perfect event?
Yeah, one thing is I would encourage your listeners to ask about their training and credentials, right? There are a lot of, health coaching programs out there these days. I have 6 years of graduate school and a number of certifications to go along with it. So why I point that out is you want to make sure you're working with someone who knows how to understand how your body is working and is not just taking what worked for them and applying it to you, right? So that's really important. Number two is in tandem with that, really getting curious about their process, right? Is it a plug and play process? Are they, do they relate to their approach like it's the one and only way people can thrive? Or are they going to gear you up with the information you need to be able to produce outcomes and sustain them over time? And then thirdly is just, does it feel like a good fit for you? There's this just like with your partner, right? There's intangible chemistry, and that's important. That's going to be important for you to make sure that you feel like you can really win and thrive in the hands of the person who you're entrusting to your care.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of Wedding Secrets Unveiled. You helped our listeners become one step closer to their journey of stress-free wedding planning. Can you tell everybody where they could find you?
Absolutely, Sarah. So you can find me at wellempowered.com, and please feel free to schedule a complimentary consultation if you are interested in exploring working together. And if you let me know where you heard of me, you will be gifted 10% off. So make sure you let me know Sarah sent you. And you can also find me on Instagram at wellempowered.
Amazing. And what I will do for our listeners is I will have Dr. H's information on our episode show notes, which you can find on our blog and our website podcast page, which is at sarazarrella.com/podcast. Well, thank you.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you for listening to Wedding Secrets Unveiled. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you something. I encourage you to check out our website at sarazarrella.com. We love photographing while having fun, of course. Check out our podcast page on our website for our show notes along with upcoming episodes with your local wedding experts. Listen in as we help you plan your epic event. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. I would so appreciate if you left a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support and let us know what you think. If you know any wedding experts that would like to be a guest, we have a link directly on our website where they can let us know. Thank you for listening.